Good afternoon. Welcome to Gator's Garage, the home of all things historical gaming in the great and wonderful city of Savannah, Georgia. We have with us once again this evening our special guest, Tom Chapman from Wargames Atlantic, and we're going to be discussing what is quickly becoming one of my favorite subjects, this Quar's War Clash of Rifles. My wife and I have really enjoyed painting the Quar up and playing with the miniatures, and it's just I like to describe this Quar's War as the war game for folks who don't necessarily like war games. So there you go. While we're starting out, be sure you do the YouTube things for us. Click like, click share, leave a comment, check out our Patreon, and check out our Ko-Fi if you want to leave us a cup of coffee. So with all that being said, I'm going to pass the ball over to my good buddy Tom. Tom, your ball.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you very much, Mike. It's good to be back. So we'll be doing something a bit different today. Normally, me and Mike tend to talk a lot about either new releases or products that we've made or things that are coming out. This one's a bit of a dive into the rules or an update into the rules, which is expanding upon your core box set, Clash of Rifles.
Just so.
So, and we've got a bit that also follows on from our last video. Just a few more updates of things that are happening, or some new pictures you might have not had in the previous PowerPoint that we did and we went through in the last video. So, if Mike, I don't know, you've got the godly power of the slides, I'll let you forward it. There we go, fantastic. So, as you can see, we've got some test shots of the Fidwogs I spoke about in the last video. So they're looking very cool. I'm loving the guy shooting the machine gun from the waist, proper Rambo style. And we've got some photos finally of the trench raiders and sharpshooters for the Croftyrans and Crusaders. They will be out later this week, I believe, when I last spoke to Charlie today. So expect them on Gator Games web store within the next couple of weeks, available to buy. So they're right around the corner, but Fidwogs are still far away, but it will come sooner than you think.
Fantastic.
So I think we can get into the proper meat of the video.
Just so.
On the next slide. So we've had a rules update. We've had an addendum version 2. You might think, what is an addendum? Essentially, think of it like an FAQ or an update to the existing rule set. You can find it on the Quar discussion Facebook group, which I'd implore anybody who's interested in the Quar to go and be a member. It's fantastic. There's some lovely photos. People are always asking questions and showing off their little builds and little random models that they're making. It can be found on the Gator Games web store, and it can now be found on Wargames Atlantic's web store as well to download.
Excellent.
So if you've not picked it up yet, I recommend going and picking it up. But essentially, the new things are we've got extra stat lines for the Croftyrans and Crusaders. So we've got new units for both. We've also added in. I think we've gone too far forward. We've got new additions for Gwent and Crusaders. So they're two factions.
I was going to say just a quick cap. So you're going to tell us a bit about the Crusaders and the Gwent and where they fall into the current mighty struggle.
So the Gwent and Tolmor are allies of the respective factions. Obviously, you can understand that the Gwent are allied with the Croftyrans. They look very much like British redcoats, as you can probably see. And Tolmor actually look like French freedom fighters from World War II. I'd say that's a very good way, or like French, very got that Franco style of uniform and dress. Crusaders are obviously allied with the Crusaders, Gwent with Croftyrans. They play a minor role, but they are still important. They're still a supporting faction. They do a lot of fighting on behalf of Crusader and Croftyr. But they don't expect them to be like a full-on army like the Eski or the Fidwogs. they're probably going to only have a few releases. They might get releases in resin, but currently, right now, I know they're exclusively a metal range from Zombiesmith. So they've got a lot of things out there already, unlike the current plastics. So they're very worth going and have a look at if you like that sort of styling. So I would say they're probably sort of like a second tier. Would you say second tier? I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a bit too harsh. I'd say they're second tier armies compared to the Croftyran Crusaders.
I don't know that I would say that in the presence of either one, but certainly
No,
at this
yes,
safe
yeah,
distance, we can say
yeah,
in relation. What I like is they're going to add in, Tullamore, as I recall, has a little bit higher tech base than the broader Crusader
I believe so.
polity.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, I see the guy there holding the submachine gun, which is not something you find in Crusader forces.
No,
So
that
they're
is
going to
true.
be able to get right a bit of their own back. And then the Gwent not only have good technology, but they're also a very stubborn, very proud people. And
Yes,
you see the scattergunner that he's holding a scattergun there.
yes.
And
Six-barreled
both of
shotgun.
them are going to add, yeah, I love that 6-barreled shotgun.
Yeah.
Uh, sh- Shades of the sergeant from Sharp's Rifles. Um, but yeah, the what they're also going to do is add some color. If
Yes,
you're someone like me that often finds himself playing with two people on the side, now you can literally have a second group, second squad, second platoon that's
yep,
literally a little bit different color, and your buddy can run that.
yes, and especially with group games, it's going to make them more interesting, especially when the
Yep.
Fidwogs and the Esky get involved, because then you're going to
Yes.
have 3 nations per side, which means you can do large games if everybody brings around 450 points, if not more, and you play a big game of this Quars War, which obviously then turns into a mass battle because you've got 1,500 points for Quar on the table.
Woo!
But you're still using a lot of skirmish elements and a lot of the
Right.
rules you're familiar with.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting, very interesting. So I think we can move on to the
Sounds like a plan.
slide.
Something we might want to pencil down is exactly how would you run a multiplayer side of Quar's War at the current, the way the current system works. Don't get an answer it right now, but that might be something worth talking about.
Yes, it would be. Yes.
All
So here we
right.
go. Here's some lovely photos as well, provided to me by a community member. He's getting a little shout out at the end of the video as well.
Excellent.
Um, so some of the new skills we've added in supporting fire. Supporting fire it allows you to have little blocks of riflers fight and sort of create their own unit and be
Okay.
more tactile on the battlefield.
Right.
A lot of the time, one rifleman isn't really going to suppress as many people as he could. The supporting fire skill now allows more riflers to join together and create a better suppressing fire base. So as you
Okay.
move around the table, linking guys up together, getting them behind cover, like the photos perfectly demonstrate,
Yes.
um, and suppressing the enemy is going to be more of a key role. However, this is only on your basic riflers. So this doesn't appear on anybody like a machine gunner or anything like that. They're already very well equipped to deal out a lot of suppression, as me and Mike both know. Playing Quar,
Yes.
the machine guns are very deadly.
Yes.
So as you note here in the rules, it says riflers with this ability may perform supporting fire when they meet the requirements of the action. They may only support and be supported by riflers with this ability. So again, it's only riflers that are going to be able to do this. Can you see any other opportunities that you might have, Mike, in the game for this to crop up? I can potentially see it being used in a defensive capacity if you're playing a defensive mission.
Well, actually, the reciprocal would be true as well because you'd use your supporting guys, especially if you're playing. I'm a royalist, so I'm playing Croftyr, and you're going to use the machine gun and maybe you got a basic squad of 6 riflers, so I can see putting 4 of them together in a group to lay down
Yes,
suppressive fire, and then you got the machine gun as well, and that frees up your other elements to maneuver.
yes, yeah. I can definitely see that being a thing. When we do some diving into the sort of lists. I've
Yeah,
built a nice little trench raider one, which uses some like the supporting fire rule as a base to let my trench raiders infiltrate, get up the table, and cause carnage pretty early on. Which is, there's new ways of playing the game which weren't there before, but now open up a more, I would say, more of a realistic play style. Something you might see in a
okay.
World War II tabletop or a World War One tabletop, where you're maneuvering and firing. Um, so we'll move on to a little another focus on Deadeye.
Sure.
So Deadeye,
Yeah.
you will know that it appears on the sharpshooter, which
Yep.
is one of the most powerful units in the skirmish game. As you'd expect, a guy with a scope rifle is going to cause absolute carnage to
Yes.
everything on the battlefield, taking guys out left, right, and center.
What are you talking
Um,
about? I play bolt action. I have no idea what you're talking about.
yeah, that sniper blowing up a mortar in a single shot, it's
Right.
deadly. Um, so you'll see that Deadeye is now an aimed shot for one action instead of two, but with no skill bonus. So there's
Okay.
been a little bit of a balancing act to try and make them slightly less powerful, which
Right.
obviously I think we can all appreciate. I've been on the receiving end of a sharpshooter, and I've lost
Yes.
many guys, and it is not fun. So I'm glad to see that that's been a thing that's been added in. So I think we've got some more rules changes and things that have been added on the next slide.
Yeah, and folks, might just remind the folks that the first initial set of rules really were designed to be very much an introductory set of rules, so
Yes,
that you could pop your box open, put your 2 dozen guys together, and start learning the basics of the game, and get on the tabletop with your mates and start enjoying the figures. Now we're starting to kind
yes,
of dial it in, and I'll tell you, even the first edition rules um, were really a very refreshing change from many of the other rule sets that we see.
yes.
And this just seems to continue that. I've even told some folks that, the theme may be quirky, but the tactics and the mechanics are just absolutely solid.
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think as well, the core box comes from a very good place as being a so-called game in a box.
Yes.
You don't have to buy all this extra stuff. You don't have to get the addendum. You can literally just play everything in the box. And Mike's favorite bit about it is it comes with a little campaign system.
Yes, yes.
Um, so it means you can play the campaign out the box with all the miniatures involved, and then get to a point where you can go, okay, I'm either going to get this out and play it on game nights, or I'm going to actually take this further to become my full hobby and invest and make larger armies. And it's got that nice flexibility. It doesn't involve you buying hundreds of dollars of miniatures just to try out the game at the standard points level. Cough, cough, Warhammer. So, so it's well rounded. I'd like to say it's very well rounded.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm always a fan of games like this. We did something similar with Bolt Action where they had the street fighting module, which didn't
yes,
catch
yeah,
on as much as I thought it should have. But in the ability for players to learn the game at a man-to-man level and maybe never play beyond that. I mean, we just poked at the big guys, but certainly their kill team game kind of scratched a similar itch.
it does.
And,
Yes,
and that's yeah, and I think for 28s, I think the skirmish is absolutely fantastic. And I'm just um again, if you've not bought the game, it's worth a look at, what, $75. It's worth a look to pick it up. and the figures go together well. They're solid. I was just working on some the other night, and my wife and I were kind of handling them, and we're like, what I really like is the weapons. I mean, look in the pictures here. You know, these guns are solid. You see in some of the historical and some of the other manufacturers, the weapons are maybe more to quote unquote scale, but they can be really fiddly. And these are, really solid. Obviously, you can still break them, but they're generally not as nearly as easy to get damaged in handling as you would with some of the other kits that I know I've worked with.
Yes, yeah, agreed, agreed. I love the cartoony aspect as well. The machine guns
Yes.
aren't really to scale. They're a bit larger than a normal machine gun. You've not just got a shotgun; you've got a one-handed shotgun sawn off.
Right,
It's got that
right. With
very
six
much
barrels.
six-barrel shotgun. Yeah,
Right.
little tiny, massive anti-tank gun. So there's all sorts of things that are weird and wacky and wonderful about it. So let's carry on then. Let's go into another rules change, and that is automatic weapons. We both know playing the game, automatic weapons are very good,
Yes.
very very good. But I think they needed a little tweaking. So Josh has made some really good steps to tweak them to be a bit more balanced again. So they'll no
Yes.
longer receive a +2 for firing at single targets. Sort of makes sense if you think about it. It's a crude automatic weapon. It's not a refined piece of tech like an AR-15 or something like that. It's gonna miss more than it hits a single guy. You fire it at a group of Quar, you're gonna hit one or two of them, and that's where it sort of has that grounding. I feel this rule's very grounded. Some people
Okay.
don't like it. I have seen some pushback in the discussion, but you can't have everything. You got to learn that in life
Ending games. But
and
yeah,
in
I'm
games as
actually
well. And in
yeah,
games.
yeah.
So new weapon rule, large caliber. So in the standard rules, there was weapons that were supposedly in the law larger caliber than other weapons. But
Right.
they didn't have any reflection of that. So now that Josh has added in this rule specifically to reflect those sort of guns. So it says here large caliber weapons ignore light cover and reduce standard cover by 1. Tractors hit by large caliber weapons read 1 row higher on damage tables.
But
So
we haven't seen the tractors yet. Now,
we haven't seen the
uh,
tractors yet.
yeah. Now you and I discussed, and I think I discussed on the group. Josh may have even spoken to this. And when I was reading initially through the rules, and you look at the Rishi, and it's a long range. It's told as a long range, big caliber gun, but it was
Yes.
no more effective than the other Crusader rifle, other than being longer ranged. It's like, well, that's nice. I think it's longer ranged, but it didn't do any more damage, and you could just look at it and tell this thing should do more damage. So
Yes.
I'm really glad to see that.
Yes. Yeah. And it also happens on um, fun guns like the scatter gun for the Gwent has also got this large caliber rule, which also makes sense. If you're firing a
Yes,
6-barrel shotgun at another Quar, it's going to do some damage. It's a large caliber gun. Um,
six
so
barreled shotgun with buckshot. Have fun with that.
exactly. It's a perfect trench clearing weapon.
Yes,
So again, like I've put here, it's a more accurate reflection of the law and the
yeah,
world that it's based in. You can get silly
like
with
it.
weapons. Some games get crazy and wacky and wonderful with what the rules are for their guns. But with Josh have tried to base this in the history and almost is like an historical setting within a
Yes,
fantasy element. And he's tried to base as much of the new updates to the rules and things that he brought out with the setting that he's created. So I'm glad to see that this rule's been added in. So new special ability. So riflers, it's Elan. Before I jump ahead, this will appear on yod drills, so the higher commanders. This is really going to make riflers a lot more effective. Leading riflers is going to be, you're not going to be bothered if you start to take off, like, you know, a recovery, guys getting back up. It isn't going to affect your play so long as you have this guy around with them riflers. So you'll notice here, it says riflers within command range of this unit gain the veteran ability. What is the veteran ability, you may ask? It is trained to shrug off battlefield conditions that leave other riflers subdued. A successful recovery does not count as one of a veteran's rifler's 2 allowed actions. So it allows you to get your rifler up off the ground and still get his full actions in, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
Taking, you know, behind cover, one or two go down, you know, on an important turn when you need it. This is going to allow them to get back up and still be effective when they need to be. So,
yep,
it's a very good rule. I don't know about you. I can see using it a lot in games. It's like a must take now. Yadril in my list with a big group of riflers.
Right. Well, I mean, even under the current rules, the ability to use the command points with guys that are nearby was powerful. So you add this in,
exactly,
and he really does becomes what he's supposed to be, and that is the squad leader. That's okay. Let's push this guy forward.
exactly.
On the other hand, you know that sniper that got dialed back a little bit, he's going to be gunning for this fella.
He is indeed. I've put in this can turn your standard riflers into a menace, however, can make your leader into a must-kill target. And I think that is going to be the case. You know, you're going to see a lot of people going, "Yeah, well, I'm going to shoot your Yadril," and there's not a lot you're going to be able to do about it.
Got to go flush those snipers out the old-fashioned way.
Exactly. So to the next slide.
Okay.
Here we go. So new multi-faction profiles. So when we get to the list, or when you download the new addendum, or the FAQ as we like to call it, you'll see that there's 2 new profiles on there: standard bearers and squirrel handlers with pick picks.
I've seen some of the people are already building these.
These are fantastic from a gameplay perspective. If we take away the lore and the backstory, which is funny enough, you know, squirrel messengers, you can't get better than that. But if we take them from a gameplay perspective, the standard bearer is really good, really good, improving the skill of your standard riflers. And I think it's everybody. I don't think it's just standard riflers. I think it's just a +1 increase. So your machine gunner is going to go up by a skill if you've got a banner bearer near him. And if you're running like a trench raider force, having one of these run up with your trench raiders, they're just going to be so good at getting everything you want done when it needs to be done. However, that sharpshooter, it can get rid of him like that.
I'll be looking for him too.
Yeah, you will be looking for him too. So, and before we dive into what they actually do, the squirrel handler model, I love it. I love the fact he's got this big woven basket on his back, and he's just got squirrels in it, and he just writes little notes and puts them on the back and sends the squirrel out to go and send the message. It may never turn up, but it just goes. I think that's just a cool little idea, and I think it's really funny. Something very unique to the setting as well. So let's jump on to what they do then. So the standard bearer, like I said, provides a 2-inch +1 skill increase bubble. So that's going to make your units very good. Some units even more good than they are now, particularly those veteran forces. You can imagine a standard bearer with Fidwogs, when they get rules, is going to be very, very good because they're renowned for having good skill. So an officer with one of these near him is going to be really, really good.
And this
and
speaks
what's
this
nice,
speaks too
sorry,
this speaks too to the whole retro the whole retro feature of this Quar's War.
yes,
I mean, by World War One, I don't think anybody used standards, other than maybe the Japanese. I know they fought the Germans
yes,
briefly in the Pacific. And in World War Two, nobody did, except, of course, again, the Japanese.
yeah,
So, to have that as a broad element within these guys' armies is definitely going to be fun. Shades of Lord of the Rings in my perspective. So yeah, very cool.
it is indeed, it is indeed. Um, so the next one, this one's really good. So squirrel handlers. So you think, what would a guy with a basket full of squirrels be good for in the middle of a battlefield?
Yeah.
Well, pick picks are really, really useful. They can be exchanged to reveal the current activation card, re-roll any of the player's dice rolls, or to perform a tend wounded action on an out of action rifler. So this is big because this is guys that are out of action that you're not going to get back. These pick picks can potentially get them back up. And if you're coupling that with a Yadril, which then gets your recovery roll back, you're going to see more riflers get back up and be useful than they
Wow.
were before. But it's not just that; it's re-rolling any dice roll. I've missed with my sniper. Spend a pick, get that re-roll back. That important scattergun kill I need to get somebody off an
Yes.
objective, or potentially win the game. Re-roll. So it's very, very cool. And
So
sorry, just to say, when the handler dies, you still get the
right,
re-rolls. So
but they
you
the,
bank them almost.
when you activate it, the pick comes off the table. They're done.
Yes, yeah. You don't have to have
Okay.
picks on the table. You can either have them as just a marker. So people might use like a red bead if you're playing like Gwent or
Sure.
Fidwog, or like a blue bead for the Croftyran's. But if you like the models and you like the setting, I'd go for the official ones. The squirrels. And yes, you take them off the table, or you just mark down that you've spent one and you've only got two left. I think all squirrel handlers can only carry three, up to a limit of three, and I
Okay.
believe each one is about 15 points or 20
Okay.
points. So they are expensive, but you obviously pay for what you get, because
Sure.
even to know the current activation card, that's really useful. So then you know what you're capable of. And
Hmm.
I can definitely see we're more of a, obviously this game is not built around a competitive setting, it's very narrative based. But I could obviously see, if you're playing a narrative mission in a larger game and you want
Yep.
something you can capture, this might become an objective where you've got to capture the pick handler, the squirrel handler. And once you capture them, you get the picks. So it become a cool little thing. But I'm going to use it in my list purely to get the re-rolls, because I am notoriously terrible at rolling dice. I even buy new dice, Mike, and they don't work for me.
I'm
Yeah,
laughing
I've got
because my nickname is Bad Dice Baker. So there you
Bad
go.
Dice
I played a
Baker. Yeah.
game last week. I was playing a game of bolt action, and I had 4 shots. They were all ones
Oof.
from the same hand at one time. 4 ones. So
I,
yes, I
I
can relate.
I can top that, Mike. I was at a Horus Heresy event 2 weeks ago. Yes, I know. Dare I say it? A Games Workshop game. Oh,
Heresy,
um,
yes.
but I needed a 3-inch charge, and I rolled double one.
Oi.
Yeah, which is the worst possible outcome I needed, and then I got butchered by the opponent. So that was good fun. So my ability to roll dice is not good.
So three cheers for the three cheers for the picks. I think we're all going to have them.
Yes, yes, I think they are going to be very, very cool. I'd love to see, just speculating and things you'd like to see in the future. I'd love to see maybe something like a multi-faction command frame. So you'd have like an officer, a, a banner bearer, and a pick handler. Half frame from us in plastic. Something like a
Sure.
command element. That would be quite cool.
Yeah.
But obviously, I don't make them decisions. But I'd love to see that. That'd be very cool.
Yeah, and those are
Okay.
now those are both currently available from Zombiesmith, though.
They are indeed.
So
Yes, they
that's
are
excellent.
Indeed.
Okay.
So they are available. Okay then. So I think we should move on to the next one.
Yes. I forget that I'm driving. I'm enjoying the show.
You are indeed. So we're going to go
Man,
into some list
look at these
building.
boards and look at these models. Wow.
They are fantastic photos. I had to,
Indeed.
as soon as I saw them, I was like, these have got to go in the PowerPoint. They've got to go in. So we're going to build some. We've built some lists. I've built 2. Mike's built 1. I've set some rules. We're going to build them to a 450 point patrol. I feel like that is just not at the higher end. Well, it is at the higher end, but it's not at the maximum points limit. But it is at the higher end to allow you to get some of them fun units in you might not be able to get in the lower points. But this is obviously something you can build to. If you start off with a core box, I think the core box provides you with a force of, I think it's around 150 to 200 points, depending on how you build it. Or somewhere around
I think I got out of the core using the full 12 figures out of the core box. I built a force that was about 340.
340.
So,
okay.
yeah.
So you're only 100 points away or 110 points away from building on these lists. So this obviously gives you some idea of what you can expand into. The list must be built to a theme. So I've built 2 to theme and Mike's built 1. I know what he's gone for. And we've said max 0 to 2 sharpshooters. I think that's as most you can have in this points bracket. Obviously, if you look at the book, the addendum, you'll notice that some values have a bracketed points. That is once you go past a certain points value, that's how many you can have per that points value. So in large games you can have more than 1, but in smaller games you might only be limited to 1 sharpshooter, for example. So this is allowing you to get them extra units in that you're going to have more fun with. So I think we'll move on to the first one on the list. I think this one's mine on this first one. Yes, it's called Pick, Go, Quick. And it is a French Raider Patrol for Croftyran. So I'm a big fan of, or a bit of a buff. I like World War One. I'm big into my World War One. And one thing I've always sort of been allured by is trench raiding. Getting over the top, getting into the trench, stealing some information, stealing somebody. And it's something that I can imagine in the stalemate world of the Quar. This is something that you would see all the time. People getting taken, informants being dragged to the other side and interrogated, because the only way that they communicate is via the most basic forms. So you really need to get that information firsthand. And that's why I've tried to sort of make this list into that theme. So you'll notice that I've gone as only 1 leader, which is quite unusual. I know some people at this points bracket might run more than 1. You might run
I'm running 2.
You're running 2, yeah. You might see people even run 3 low-level ones to provide a bit more board command. I've gone for 1, and I've gone for sort of like 1 really good leader. So I've gone for a trench raider Yadril. He comes in at 50 points, but he has got infiltrate. So that's going to allow me to get up that table very quickly with the next lot, which is the trench raiders. I've gone for 5 of them. So 5 trench raiders is a considerable amount. I think normally in a normal game you can have a maximum of 3. So I'm nearly at the top end of the next bracket in terms of how many trench raiders I can take. And these are sort of to get up the table, put them into a position where you can get straight in there and attack the enemy early on.
Yeah.
The whole point of this list is it's almost like an alpha strike you might hear in other gaming systems, and that's what I've sort of tried to go for. The pick handler, the squirrel handler, helps me with this because it gives me the ability to see my activation card early on, and that's potentially burn through them quickly to get 3 turns worth of being able to see what you can do. Or, if you're in that point where you're in melee with the enemy's leader, getting that reroll to be able to kill him is going to then break down your opponent's force very quickly. The idea is the squirrel handler is then protected by the support element, which is 5 riflers, 2 with cry fens. So they almost sit at the back and hunker down home base and protect the squirrel handler from being shot and killed. But obviously, you still get the picks. Squirrel handler at the end of the day is still just a rifler with a gun. He isn't anything too special. He just gives you access to picks. So I believe they are 5 points each, actually, not 15 points each. So they're really, really cheap. If I just have a little look here at the addendum sheet I've got in front of me, I'll be able to tell you how many points they are. They are indeed 5 points. So they are very cheap. Adding them in, like I said, 45 points for a squirrel handler with 3 picks. It's
right.
It's a why would you not include it in every list? Unless you're going for a theme, obviously, which is the game in a nutshell. So that's my original list. It's only 15 models, so it is on the lower model count. But again, it's more of an elite heavy list.
Right.
I can see this probably struggling against your list, Mike, because you've got a lot more elements than I have. You've got a lot more board presence. But this is my next one. I don't know why it's decided to put them in that order, but this is the next one. And this
Protect
is
the moth cakes.
Protect the moth cakes at all costs. So this is a Gwent Garrison patrol. So what I've tried to go for here is what you would more see as the higher command have left these guys in charge almost at the home base, protecting the moth cakes, the important things in this Quars war. Protect squirrels, protect moth cakes. That's it. So these guys are in home base. That's why you've got riflers, grenadiers, you've got standard bearer, you've got scattergunners. So it's almost like the bulk of the force. What you won't see in here is high-level leaders. You've only got 2 millwares. So,
nice.
You've not got a Yadril to rely on, but you have got more board presence with some nice flavorful units like a grenadier. Grenadiers are very good. And the scattergunner.
Have we seen the rules for the grenadier yet? Or are they?
We
I was looking at that.
They are in the addendum. I can tell you exactly what they are.
Okay.
In fact, the rules for the grenadier are actually on the slide for its stat line, but I can tell you the grenadier rule.
Right.
Provide me 2 seconds.
That's going to be further. That's going to be further in the program. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I think you'll be able to make, or I think you do get a grenadier in the pack of guys you get. I think you can either buy them as a single model or you get them in a pack with other Gwent models. I'm just looking for the grenadier rule, which is here. Grenadier, a unit may spend a pluck to adjust a roll on the grenade charts up or down 1 line.
Nice.
So that is really useful. Spending
it
the pluck,
is.
Getting it to be able to chuck a grenade in, get rid of some guys a lot easier, and getting the result you want. Obviously, pluck is something that you would spend.
Right, pluck is it's a mulligan, command point.
Yes, exactly.
And also, as I recall, grenades in this game you can drop either frag or smoke, and there's no limit to either.
I believe so. Yes.
Right. So that's it's not something I've used yet in the couple 3 games I've played, but I can see where it's going to be. Especially again, we talk about the sniper. Well, if he can't shoot through the smoke, he can't hit somebody. So that's
Exactly.
pretty good.
But it also is going to protect the standard bearer if
Yep.
you need, if needs be, or if you've got in a mission where you actually, because this whole force is built around being very static and using the scatter gunners and the grenadiers to get to an area where you need to provide
Hmm.
that support. The smoke grenades are going to allow you to get that cover, especially from machine gun heavy lists where you're more than likely going to be taken out,
Right.
especially if there's a group of 2 or 3 of you running across.
Yeah.
Um, you can definitely see that grenadiers are in the Gwent list, sort of a must take. Um, and I
Right.
think that reflects them as well. Being very British esque with their red coats and their or what are they called? Are they bicorn hats, I believe?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, bicorn hats. So they are very British esque. British Grenadiers are a well known thing. Um, so I feel like that's sort of a must take unit. You've got to take the rule of cool says you need to take them, as well as the
Well,
scatter gunner,
yeah.
as
And
well as
just looking here, thinking about the support rule. I mean, I could see taking 3 riflers and the 2 grenadiers and pairing them up with the scatter gunner and the standard bearer as an assault unit, and
yeah,
then group the other 6 riflers into 2 elements of 3, and so they're getting that support advantage. So
yeah,
you
with a
got your
millware
you
in
got
each.
your yeah you got your support element there to lay down some intense fire, and then you've got your assault element with the grenadiers and scatter gunner to go dig out, you know, whatever's coming at you. That's this
Yes,
is also, I think, kind of like your other list. It's you call it a garrison, but it's actually more. I think it's more of an assault list. I think you
yeah,
like
I
to
can
play
see
aggressively.
I think it can be used as both.
Yep.
Um, the methodology behind it was to stay very static. You got 2 groups led by 2 millwares. Both
Yep.
groups have got a grenadier and a scatter gunner in them to be able to deal with people who might come close. And then
Yeah.
one of them will have a standard bearer depending on the presence on the other side of the board.
Roger
Um,
that.
so that's how I saw it. But again, every list can be adapted to be multifunction, and I could definitely
That's
see
right.
you running up the board with a load of crazy guys with grenades and just trying to win the day, which
That's
is
right.
definitely doable. And again, it's a low model count; it's only 16 models.
Right.
It's
Right.
unlike many other games. You're not bringing 30, 40 models to a game. You're not bringing 100 models to a game. 16, that is a very small case. I think probably a sheet of A5 would be a case about the same size you'd need to
Yep.
bring these, if not less. Not much painting work, which means you can go
Mm-mm.
really heavy on conversions, nice basing. Uh, you've done a brilliant basing guide for your Croftyran's that you've put up on your Instagram, and I believe you're doing a blog about it this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be on my blog as well. Yes, sir.
So you can spend all your time in your world painting your 16 models. It's very low effort, low intensity, which I like.
Yep.
Again, coming
Yeah.
from other games, me and you both know painting a platoon of guys in uniform can be weeks, months work, depending on the level you
Yeah.
want to paint
Especially
them to.
if you're doing something fun like, I don't know, Waffen, uh, Fallschirmjäger, the guys
Yeah,
that have the really detailed uniforms.
yeah,
Russians are easy.
yeah. P dot
British
camo
aren't too
was
bad,
the uh, the,
but
the
yeah.
the German P dot camo was probably the worst thing I've ever painted in all my life. Uh,
And
Soul destroyer.
the of course the fun and the challenge with the Quar, if anybody's watching this and they're kind of on the fence and they're thinking about it, is Quar are definitely they are truly colored people. Their skins
Yes,
are
yes,
purples and pinks and orange. And so that's probably that's the irregularity of doing the Quar.
Yes.
Even at that, even at that, you can still group them by, you can still do like 4 blues, 4 greens, 4 plums. And
I,
that actually has been one of those things that's appealed to some of the female gamers is they're just so darn cute.
yes, they are. They are indeed. I really like the methodology as well. You paint them sort of like opposing colours. So, like with the blues, you will use yellows and oranges because it really highlights the skin. And
Right.
on the Crusaders, you'll use green and light blue because it really accentuates the uniform.
Yep.
I don't know if they're what you're going to do for red. Red, you'd probably use blue. Maybe a purple would look quite cool on top of a red uniform.
Yeah.
I think purple would look cool on the Esky dark blue, like the white, dark white. Dark white, dark grey, and the light sort of whitish blue, like the Finnish
Yes.
uniforms. Purple
Well, that'll
skin
die.
would look
Yeah.
really good on them. So yeah, like you said, there's lots of things you can do with them, which is the flexibility again of the
Yeah.
car. So I think we get onto your list, the final list in this.
That's my list. Good job with that, by the way. That looks great.
There we go. So do you want to take us through your list then? Do you want to explain the methodology
Sure.
behind it and
Absolutely.
things you've added
I know
in?
we made a couple of tweaks to get it up to the 450.
We did.
I haven't finished building all the models to get to this point level. I've got, like I said, I've got about 340 assembled, but I did have a definite functionality in mind, both a fire element and a maneuver element. The maneuver element is the yacht drill and the 7 riflers. He's going to be moving them up the field to get them where they need to go. They're going to be covered by the machine gun element, the Cryphon element there, probably broken up into 2 sections, each led by a millwork, as well as the sharpshooter probably be attached to that as well. So, the 2 support elements are laying down long range fire, while the riflemen are moving in to seize whatever the objective is. And I'm it's kind of funny. This really is tends to be my more style of play. I like to keep my opponent at a distance. I like to set up lines of fire and let the weapons do more of the work. I tend to have really bad luck in close combat, so this list is absolutely designed to keep somebody at a distance. And the fact that I think any rifler can carry either a smoke or a frag grenade and throw them out means that I can use either element to throw some smoke and kind of complicate the terrain situation. So this is the list I've ran a couple times with my wife. She tends to run the Crusaders. I tend to run the Croftyrans, and it's done some good work for me. She's
I've
really going to like the new rules for the Rishi because that Rishi is now going to get a lot more effective.
It is very, very effective. I think I may have got some bits wrong on here. I'm just looking. I think I've got
We're
guys
missing
with
the leader.
Harlex.
We don't have the leadership numbers for the millware, but that's fine.
No, and some of the
Um,
rifles wrong, and also bad maths on my part. It is late at night here in the UK. I think it's gone past 12 p.m.
Bless your heart, man. You're
But
awesome.
we're at the model count should be 16. So we'll have to put like a little edit in the video of like it should be 16 and this should be the things.
I wonder what
But
got I wonder what got picked up twice.
yeah, yeah, sharpshooters, I think.
Must have. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I
um,
just did a quick tally. Eight plus 8 plus 8, 16. So again,
16.
a
Yeah,
small model count,
my bad
you could
maths there.
it's all good. Um I'll
So
have to show you how to write. Well, I see where you summarize the points in the other cell. You could have summarized that as well. I like your
um,
spreadsheet. If you want to send it to me, I'll tweak it a little bit.
oh yes,
Um,
that'd be great. I will do that. No
looks
problem
cool.
at all. One thing I
And
wanted
the
to ask is when you set this army up,
yes, sir.
um, where do you put your sharpshooters? Do you put them in your groups of riflers, or do you put them on the flanks on their own? How do you sort of deploy sharpshooters? Because obviously in my 2 lists I've wrote, I don't have any sharpshooters. So
Right.
giving some ideas to the people, how would they deploy and what would they do with them?
Well, it's all going to depend on your mission. If you're holding an objective, then you're gonna have the take the machine. I would treat each machine gun team and each sharpshooter kind of as an individual fire point. kind of spread
Yeah.
them out a little bit to lay down long range fire, and then use your riflers to plug the holes where you might need them. There again, you could split that rifler. You could split the first group into a group of 3 and a group of 4 riflers to take advantage of the support fire, and
Yes.
put that yaw drill between the 2 of them, and then the millwork can be put in positions to support. I would say 1 millwork with the machine gun section and 1 millwork with the sharpshooter section. And notice he's carrying a harlock as well, so he's going to be able to help lay down some fire as well. If this force goes over on the attack, I would pull. I would probably pull the sharpshooters up with the first force, so that they can provide mobile long range firepower,
Yeah.
and the machine guns would be there to lay back and lay down fire. Probably take that again. Probably take the millwar and the 2 sharpshooters as 1 maneuver element, and then the Yodwell and the riflers combined 2 maneuver elements or 3 maneuver elements, and push onto the objective.
So what I like there is you've really encapsulated what's great about the Quar, because you've took something which is very historical element, because it sounds very similar to fire and maneuver, which is a well-known tactic that the Americans did during World War II, and you've applied it to the Quar, which has then
Yep.
created a list which feels very historical, but you've
Yep.
got the flavour and the narrative of the fantasy setting of the Quar, because it is ultimately a fantasy setting.
That's right.
That is very cool, very very cool. This is sort of a list I could probably see myself running as well, especially if I was playing to be more defensive. Like you said, it does feel like a defensive list. You want to be out of the way of somebody getting close to you. It'd be interesting for this list to play against a trench raiding list, maybe a Crusader trench raiding list, and
Yes.
see how well both of them perform.
Yeah.
Because you've got ultimately in the Crofterans, you've got that higher, I think it's higher command rating and higher skill rating on their officers. And I've noticed as well, you have access to a lot more of the I believe it's a harder hitting weapon, the Harlech.
Yes.
It's yes, it is, yeah. Range 8 as well. So the Cry Fen being an automatic weapon as well that you can get on a model for what, next to no points,
It's
is
not
also
bad. Yeah.
really good. Um, this is a very good list. I could, yeah, definitely see myself running this. So I'm going to steal this, maybe paint it
Okay.
up. I might have to present it in the next Quar video we do.
I like it.
That would be very good fun. And I think that is everything for today.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
I guess if you wanted to be a little bit more historical, you could throw your sharpshooters. And I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a couple of models in sharpshooter green. kind of
yes,
like the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
95th rifles.
Yes,
Leave the yellow on their sleeves because they're royal. They're they're Croftyran royal, but do their coats in a hunter green, and
yes.
that'll look really cool.
Yeah, that would be very cool, especially if you got some thin netting and
Yep.
put it over the head, so it looks like he's
Yes.
got a in the rifle's green, but he's got that World War I start of introducing camouflage and stuff like that. That'd be very cool. I
That's what
could
I did with
definitely
my
see.
American snipers for bolt action. I took some green flocking to put over their head, and so you could
Yes,
tell at a glance who your snipers were.
yes, that's clever. That's very clever.
Thank you.
I'd love to see as well. The riflers with the Cry Fens either wielding it from the hip like Rambo. That'd be very cool.
Yes.
Or when you look at the Cry Fen, I quite like the you see on a few historical miniatures where they're holding the machine gun with one hand and running, a bit like a Bren rifle with a
Yeah.
handle on top, but holding
Yep.
it from the underneath. I could definitely see like a rifler in motion, running, jumping over something. That'd look very cool as well. It'd also fit in with the theme of diving back and forth between cover, a bit like Foy in Band of Brothers, where you see Ronald Spears diving over everything to save
Right.
everybody. I could definitely see a Ronald Spears Quar model. That'd be very
Oh,
cool.
there we go. Now we're having fun. I love it. All
There
right.
we go. I've got a little slide at the end as well. I'd just like to point out,
Excellent.
just send some shout outs to people at the end of the video. There we
There we
go.
go.
Also, last little figure as well. That is a 3D print. If anybody is interested in that, makes a lovely little battlefield diorama. But I'd just like to give a shout out to James Manto and Ken Nat for the wonderful photos they provided me for this this PowerPoint. Love them. They do some
Excellent.
very good photos. If you're ever in the group, check out some of their work because it is fantastic. I'd also like to thank Mike for having me on.
My pleasure.
You know, yeah, I don't get a chance to do a lot of these videos, but it's good when we do get around to doing it. And I'd
Yes,
also
sir.
like to thank Josh as well. Josh provided me with some of the new photos. He's
Excellent.
provided with the addendum out to everybody. So, you know, without him, we wouldn't have any of this stuff.
And yeah, Josh loves the world, and you can tell he loves the world. He is so excited that so many people are sharing his vision of the core world. And it's
Yes.
just like, wow, very, very awesome.
I've also got one more shout out to make as well to Rob Heimer. So in some of the photos you see of Ken Nat's, so Ken Nat's photos were the lovely ones I used for the supporting fire slide, you know, with
Right.
the bocage and stuff. That table was provided by Rob Heimer. So there's some lovely terrain on there. Just like to give him a
Yes.
shout out as well. Ken asked if I could give him a shout out. So I just wanted to put that in as well.
I love it. I love it. And you know, the this is what makes the hobby go is when people come together to tell a story, whether it's around a
Yes.
tabletop or on a slide deck or at
Yes.
midnight in
Yeah,
the
on the slide
UK.
deck.
That's right. That's right. So, man, this is fantastic. The core world continues to grow. The hobbyists are just continuing to look at it, and I know in my local area, and a little something to all of you out there, show this game to your people that maybe aren't miniature war game players, and they may find this is something they would absolutely get into. It's got the tactics without some of the social baggage that comes with it. I know I plan to take, and I'm going to actually share some of these pictures to some of my general discussion groups here in the States, some of the local Facebook groups, and say, hey, you know, if you may not have thought of yourself as a tabletop gamer, but check out how cool these models are and how cute these figures are. So definitely worth that. And we are seeing people come into. I've seen a number of people that have said I've never done miniature gaming, but I saw the core and I just had to get in. So it's really excellent. And Tom, a big shout out. You know, a shout back to you and to War Games Atlantic for grabbing this ball and running with it and kind of pulling all the elements that have been there for a while. Josh has been doing this for a good long time,
He has
but
indeed.
kind of grabbing all the elements and putting them in front of the larger community and helping us experience yet another wonderful world.
Thank you very much. Well, you know, without Josh, we wouldn't have this. So, you know,
Nope.
us partnering together and creating this wonderful thing, it's been great for everybody.
Just so. All right. I think with that, we are going to say good night to the folks.
Yep.
Good
Good
night,
night, everybody
folks.
from the UK. Good night.
Yep. Good night for yeah. Good night. Good morning from the UK. Actually, it's about
Yes, good morning.
1:30 there. Thank you so much. And then just again, if you like the video, give us a like, share it to your groups, let folks know how much fun it is, and check out our first comment section there for links to our store, to the Zombiesmith store, War Games Atlantic, as well as our Patreon and our Ko-Fi support channels. Again, thank you guys for your time, and be looking for our next video, which should drop. Oh, probably tomorrow. Randy and I will be talking some more about Bolt Action version 3. Night all.